Welcome back into the Rowdy Studio. I'm Steven Levine. Jeff Owens, NASCAR editor for Sporting News, is joining me to talk about the race at Sonoma yesterday. You know, Clint Bowyer seems to have surprised a lot of people, but if you look at his statistics, he had 3 fourth-place finishes and an 8th in 6 starts at Sonoma. Wasn't that surprising, was it?
I was pretty surprised.
Were you?
I was pretty shocked. You know, you just don't consider him one of the top road racers. But like you said, he's quietly put together some good finishes on road races. But he was dominant yesterday. And I think that was just a huge performance by him and the organization, Michael Waltrip Racing. But I didn't expect that.
Well, not only was he dominant, but he held off Kurt Busch and Tony Stewart in the waning laps of the race. That's impressive. That's not easy to do.
Yeah, if that doesn't tell you you're a great road racer, I don't know what does. I mean, that was very, very impressive. And this was a very impressive victory for Clint all the way around, because he took a big risk leaving Richard Childress Racing. He even admitted that in victory lane. That was a big gamble on his part to go to an elite organization where he had made the chase and won 5 races. He goes to Michael Waltrip Racing. You know, they've struggled over the years, only won a couple of races, never made the chase. And then all of a sudden, halfway through the season, he throws up a performance like that, wins a race, certainly has you thinking that he might win again now. And he's 7th in points. He's looking very much like he's going to make the chase, which would be the first for Michael Waltrip Racing.
And we won't mention where the Richard Childress Racing guys finished yesterday. That would just that would be cruel.
Rubbing salt in the wound.
Exactly.
Yeah.
As you said, Michael Waltrip Racing across the board had an impressive day. Martin Truex Jr. had a great run going until bad luck late. Brian Vickers finished 4th. That's his second top 5 and only 3 starts for Michael Waltrip Racing. Have they supplanted Joe Gibbs Racing as the sort of flag bearers for Toyota?
Well, I don't know about that. I think that's probably a stretch, but I think they have proven that they are getting very close to being an elite organization. They dominated that race yesterday. If it wasn't Bowyer out front, it was Truex. And like you said, Brian Vickers, he's only run 3 races all year long, hops in Mark Martin's car and is a contender and finishes in the top 5. That was a huge step for the organization. I think it shows how far they've come, and I think it shows that they're only going to get better.
Yeah, and Martin Truex Jr., I mean, he's fallen off a little bit of late, but they could have 2 guys in the chase, really.
Right. This is a team that's never made the chase. You know, and they were on the verge of probably bankruptcy.
They never won without David Rudeman.
Exactly, and they let him go. They made some big gambles this year. You know, not only they brought in Clint Bowyer, they brought in Mark Martin, they brought in Scott Miller to run the competition department, and he's probably the unsung hero over there. You know, he has really changed things, and that organization has stepped up its performance to such an extent. You got to think he's got a huge role in that.
Well, and they took such a big swing at rebuilding their fleet from last summer through last November. That big swing really easily could have been a whiff. I mean, they could have struck out with that swing, but they hit a home run. We can't talk about the Sonoma race without talking about the performance of Kurt Busch. I mean, he's really had a very difficult month, and
to say the least.
Comes back really with an amazing run at Sonoma. Is it enough to get sponsors to take a second look at him, or is there just too much baggage that he's carrying?
You know, that's a very difficult question, and I don't know. I don't know. I don't think one race does it. I think if he comes back and puts together a series of races, that might help. The biggest problem Kurt's got right now is the baggage, as you talked about, the trouble he's been in with probation and the suspension and all that. But he's also driving for a mid-pack team, and if you're a sponsor, you have to ask yourself, how often are they going to be able to do this? We know Kurt's a talented driver on a road course he won last year. We know he's talented everywhere, but this is really just one race. He'd had opportunities this year to run better, and something happened. They haven't been able to put it together. So if I'm a sponsor, you know, one race is not enough for me.
But while James Finch and Phoenix Racing might be looking for a sponsor in 2012, isn't Kurt Busch really auditioning for a better ride in 2013? Isn't that really what he's about?
Absolutely. I would say, you know, no offense to James Finch and his organization, but if Kurt is back there again next year, that's got to be a huge disappointment for him, because that's not what he's trying to do. He is trying to repair his reputation, which he's failed miserably at so far. And the thing that he did yesterday, I think, is that despite all the trouble he's been in over the past month, I think he reminded everybody yesterday of what an elite talent he is behind the wheel of a race car.
Which has never been up for dispute.
Never been a question. If he could win a race, that would be a huge feather in his cap. And I think he's got to continue to go about the process to see if he can attract the attention of an elite team again.
Well, we do have Daytona in a couple of weeks, and he's probably the best plate racer never to have won on a plate track. So it could happen. All right, that's Jeff Owens. I'm Steven Levine. Thanks for watching.